Down to those major headlines in the presidential race. The Trump campaign promising to fight a new ruling that would keep the former president off the ballot in the state of Maine. And Republican Nikki Haley facing backlash over her response to a question about the Civil War. Our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, is joining us with the latest. John, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. The decision by the Secretary of State of Maine is a controversial one. In fact, just overnight, the state of California rejected a similar effort to keep Trump off the ballot. It's also a decision the Trump campaign is already saying they will appeal. Overnight, Maine Secretary of State Shanna Bellows determined Donald Trump took part in an attempted insurrection on January 6th and is therefore ineligible to be on the state's Republican primary ballot for president under the 14th Amendment.
No Secretary of State has ever deprived a presidential candidate of ballot access based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, but no presidential candidate has ever engaged in insurrection.
Section 3 bars anyone who swore an oath to defend the Constitution and engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding certain offices in the federal government. The Trump campaign responded by calling Bellows a, quote, hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat and vowing to immediately appeal her decision to state court. There have been efforts in more than 30 states to take Trump off the ballot, but so far only Maine and Colorado have decided to do so. The implementation of those rulings by both states are on hold, pending appeal. The legal battle comes as Nikki Haley, who had been gaining momentum as a leading non-Trump candidate, is playing defense over her comments on the Civil War.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do.
As her answer continued, she never mentioned the word slavery. The former governor of South Carolina, the first state to secede from the Union, tried to clean up her comments the next day.
Of course, the Civil War was about slavery.
Ron DeSantis, who himself faced criticism earlier this year for suggesting some slaves benefited from slavery, criticized Haley.
Not that difficult to identify and acknowledge the role slavery played in the Civil War. She showed time and time again that when it's time, when the lights get hot, that she wilts under pressure.
With different states going in different directions, even the Secretary of State of Maine said overnight that the decision about keeping Trump on the ballot or taking him off will ultimately need to be decided by the Supreme Court, and which he said that she will respect the court's decision, assuming they take it up.
All right, John, we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, all of this happening as we head into the new year, just weeks until the actual voting begins. What are you watching for on the campaign?
Iowa and New Hampshire. Look, Trump has a huge lead in the Republican primary, but his lead in Iowa and New Hampshire is slightly smaller. If Trump's rivals are going to stop him from getting the Republican nomination, they're going to have to find a way to beat him early.
John, you also spoke to 3 women who are former Trump White House staffers who are warning about a second Trump term. Let's listen to part of that conversation.
We all witnessed him trying to steal a Democratic election before and going to historic and unconstitutional lengths to do so. And that just shows that he's willing to basically break every barrier to get into power and to stay into power.
His rhetoric has just gotten increasingly erratic. I mean, he has literally called for things like doing away with parts of the Constitution, wanting to weaponize the DOJ to enact revenge on his political enemies.
This was a remarkable discussion, for the first time bringing together 3 women who served steps away from the Oval Office in Trump's White House, including Cassidy Hutchinson, who you remember from the January 6th committee. It was the first time they came together, talked about what brought them to the point of betraying Donald Trump and warning of what would happen if he came back into the White House. That'll be this Sunday on This Week. A very interesting conversation.
And as you noted, he remains ahead in the polls and keeps that commanding lead heading into Iowa. John, thank you. Of course, you can catch more of John's interview with those former Trump staffers on This Week on Sunday right here on ABC.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.